And I just kind of wonder where fans are at, because I've mentioned Ashton Genty's name before, running back out of Boise State. As a side note, whether you care or not, this is deemed a good running back draft. Amarian Hampton, who Curran, consequentially, is also pretty high on. But Amarian Hampton, you see high in a lot of these mock drafts. He played at North Carolina with Drake May. It's a good running back draft. So I don't know if that informs your opinion one way or the other. But I brought up Ashton Genty, who feels like a generational type of prospect in the draft. You don't often see running backs that can go even in the top 10, never mind the top 5. Daniel Jeremiah, when painted with the question, or presented with the question, rather, of no Abdul Carter, no Travis Hunter. There's no blue chip players available for the Patriots at 4. They're not going to draft a quarterback. They already took Drake May a year ago. Plus, they got Joe Milton. So what do you do? And Daniel Jeremiah says, well, I take the best player available with the caveat of best player available that helps Drake May. So how do you feel about drafting a running back that highly? How do you feel about a running back helping a young quarterback? These are things I want to get into today. So what do you think of Genty at 4 in Jeremiah's opinion there?
It feels really high to me. It feels high, and I am pro running back. Like I do think they get kind of just like lumped together, and you're like, whatever. And I think if you have a really good offense, there is something to be said about an NFL caliber running back should be able to have some success with your team. But you saw what a guy like Saquon Barkley can do in that spot, right? They had other running backs like Miles Sanders and other guys in years past, DeAndre Swift, and then Saquon Barkley kind of takes you to another level. So I do value the running back. I was shocked a couple of years ago when the Detroit Lions drafted Jahmyr Gibbs as high as they did, and that looks like a great pick. And he doesn't even play every down. Not many running backs do, and yet what an impact he has had on that offense. So if you said the Patriots walked away with Ashton Genty in the first round, I would be happy with it. It just feels like 4 feels high, especially when you have so much uncertainty on your offensive line still. And then this would get into like the real draft experts as to how many guys do you feel like could start day 1 at left tackle? And if there's one of those guys on the board, I think you still need to take that guy. Now, if there isn't, and you're like, well, Will Campbell maybe, or we have this other guy who we like at right tackle. Like if you start having to get into the weeds with all that stuff, then somebody like Genty becomes way more appealing to me.
So, Mike Tannenbaum today, whatever you think of his mock drafts, he put out a mock draft today. He has the Patriots taking Membu, the right tackle out of Missouri, at 4.
How confident are we he can switch
And it's
sides?
like, drafting a running back in the top 5 is bad business. I can get behind that, although maybe you get yourself in Ezekiel Elliott, who I think was worth it for Dallas when they drafted him there. Maybe you get yourself
Saquon, was a top 5,
who obviously is an elite type of player, although he didn't win with the Giants. But you could also have Trent Richardson.
Yeah.
You could also have Leonard Fournette. Exactly.
He's a mixed bag.
I think since 2010, those are all the top 5 running backs, I believe.
Yeah.
So if you want to tell me that's bad business, all right, there's definitely an argument to be made for it. Is drafting a right tackle at 4 overall good business? Is that what you're telling me?
Trying to convert him to left tackle, and now you might have a roster with 4 right tackles and no left tackles.
Is drafting a guard at 4 good business?
I'm not drafting a guard.
Which Will Campbell might be. So, maybe drafting a running back isn't great business in a vacuum.
Yeah.
But what if the alternative is moving a right tackle to left tackle? Or drafting a left tackle who may not fit there and may have to move to guard?
This is where it's like, I think I should trade down and look around for extra picks. Right, so if you go from 4 to 8, then maybe Genty and or Will Campbell's off the board, or maybe one of them's still there, and you still get a guy that you like on top of extra picks. Because just using your biggest asset on either a right tackle that you're going to convert or a running back as good as he could be, when, you're right, Stevenson and Gibson aren't the greatest thing in the world, but they're not the worst thing in the world either. No, this isn't your wide receiver room. This isn't your left tackle room.
We said this yesterday. You could line up and play. At running back, you don't have the best running back room in the league by any means, but you can line up and play.
It feels like a luxury pick a little bit. And also, I guess you would have to go to Vrabel and Cowden, and to a lesser extent, Elliott Wolf, and say, all right, what does your actual big board of prospects look like? Forget about needs. Who do you think is the best player? Who do you project to be the best NFL player that's still available at 4? And if they come up with Genty, then I guess, all right, you said you're drafting best player, then put your money where your mouth is and draft the best player.
So I want to put that to the side for a minute because I think there's a good debate to be had with how much a running back helps a young quarterback. Okay, and that was one of Jeremiah's points. So we can get to it at 617-779-7937. That's your phone number. It's also your text line. A lot of response already. You can jump in on whether or not it's worth taking a running back at 4 in general, and then specifically in this draft. If Hunter and Abdul Carter are off the board, I'm taking Ashton Jeanty.
What's more important, the running back or the receiver for a young quarterback?
The receiver.
So do I. Yeah, I mean, obviously,
but
right?
Is there a receiver worth taking it for?
No, probably not. But I'm saying as far as like putting your resources into that and like trying to help out your quarterback, like the Bills back in the day. Do you think Josh Allen would have rather had Saquon Barkley or Steph Diggs? Like, I think he probably would have been better off with Steph Diggs. Now, maybe that is not a possibility. Maybe there is nobody out there for you to trade for. I'm not saying the number 4 overall pick, but even your second round pick, maybe there isn't that capability. But then there's also all right, you need to protect them, right? We scream about it every weekend. Like, you do need to protect the quarterback.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't feel like there's a perfect prospect there either. There's no Orlando Pace sitting there.
I agree. I'd rather have a wide receiver than a running back. Am I taking T-Mac, Ted McMillan over Ashton Jeanty? I would not.
No.
I'm not taking him at 4. They need a left tackle more than a running back. Agreed.
Okay.
Am I taking Will Campbell at 4 over Ashton Jeanty? I am not. He might not be a tackle. Am I moving Membu from right tackle to left tackle and taking him at 4? I'm not doing that. So it's almost by process of elimination. I'm trying to get the best player there, and I think Jeanty is that. So the other problem the Patriots have, because I think a lot of people would say what you just said, Keefe. Well, then trade back, see if you can get a guy more like at 7 or 8 as opposed to 4. Chad Kraft?
Yep.
He wrote today at the guy is a good source.
He's pretty tied in.
I don't pretend to know who it is, but the guy is plugged in over there. And we've heard this before as well, that the Patriots have trouble finding a partner to trade back because everybody knows it's a bad draft. They all want to wait for players to drop to them because they don't want to move up and take a flawed player at 4. No one wants to do that. So it's hard for the Patriots to trade down. He wrote, not that it's a surprise, but it's going to be difficult for the Patriots to trade back out of the number 4 spot. He goes on to detail that the best hope is that the Jets want to move up for a quarterback. But now the Patriots and the Jets are making a move, so let's play out this scenario. I want people to answer this question at 617-779-7937. Carter and Hunter are gone.
No
one.
Reset. Start over.
No one wants to move up to 4 and give you what you deem is worthwhile to move down. So now you're stuck at 4. Who are you taking? My answer, and I would agree with Daniel Jeremiah on this, is Ashton Jeanty. What's the plan? If you're boxed in and you've missed out on the 2 blue chip guys, so what's the plan at 4?
No trade. Missed the 2 studs. I like Jeanty, but I'm going to go back to my original best hoss available, and I'll let those guys figure it out. If they who's the best left tackle between Membu, who's a right tackle, and Campbell, who you think is a guard. So let the football guys figure that out.
But what is your personal answer?
I would probably go Will Campbell.
Okay.
I would go Will Campbell out of the 2. I think he can play. I know he's got shorter arms, but I think he can do it. Was it Matt Light that had shorter arms?
Yep.
One of their guys that was pretty successful had shorter arms. So I would go with that. Played in obviously a very competitive conference, and many view as the best overall offensive lineman in the draft. I would kind of have to be like, it's a little high for this player too. But in this scenario where you're forced to take somebody, I'll beef up the offensive line, hope that you have a starter there, and then, figure out the rest of the draft after.
Look, I mean, I would say I'm hoping I can get a tackle at 38, or maybe I can move up slightly from 38 into the late first round to get a tackle. But you could say, well, I hope I get Amari and Hampton at the end of the first round.
Although he does seem to be mocked pretty high.
I see him as high as the teens and oftentimes around 20. So maybe you can't get him, but maybe there's other backs that you like in this draft. Maybe you like the 2 Ohio State kids. You like Judkins, you like Henderson, and maybe you're happy taking those guys at 38 if you're going to take a running back.
It was the mock draft yesterday we talked about, a mock draft Monday. It was a 4-round mock. They had the Georgia running back, right? Etienne, going in like the 3rd or 4th round of the Pats. So, I mean, there are other guys out there. They've said it is a good running back draft. Jeanty would be the one guy. I would be excited about Jeanty, don't get me wrong. I just feel like 4 with the state of the offensive line, I think would be a tough sell.
So, again, drafting a running back at 4, probably not great business. You might get Trent Richardson. At best, you get Saquon Barkley, who didn't help the Giants win, had to leave to win.
Yeah.
So I agree it's probably not good business. But if the alternative is flawed offensive lineman or overdrafting a receiver, I'm okay. Not only am I okay with it, I would take Ashton Jeanty.